There we go. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Thank you all so much for hopping on this Sunday afternoon. I know everyone's busy and has a lot to do, but really appreciate you all hopping on. My name is Nia Thomas. I serve as the Legislative Director for Congressman Espaillat. And we are excited to have a well-rounded conversation on the ongoing issues for the federal workforce. Right now, it seems like the federal workforce is under attack. There's a lot of negative rhetoric going around, and what I think most people thought was once a stable job, they're concerned that that stability has been shaken. And so we have Timothy McLaughlin from the AFG District 2 National Representative on. We've also got Joseph is it Martinier from New
It's
York
okay.
Metro.
It's Martyr. It's okay.
Martier, apologies.
No worries.
And then we've got Rishabh. Is it Sangvi
Yep,
from
that's good.
AFG? Perfect, awesome, from AFG General Counsel. Again, thank you so much for hopping on. The congressman is a bit late from a previous an event, and so he will hop on as soon as he can. But I think just to be respectful of everyone's time, again, it is a Sunday. We'll just go ahead and get started. So I just want to open up the floor to our panelists, just make opening remarks, and then we will open up the floor for questions. If we don't, I will be taking notes, and so if you have any questions, feel free to share your name and your contact information, email. We're happy to get back to you for anything that we might not be able to answer tonight. Okay, now let's all go. You want to start your shop? Sorry.
All right. Yeah. So I'll start. Hi. So thank you. Thank you for the congressman for having us here, and thank you for the attendees. I'm Rishabh Sangvi. I'm the general counsel for AFGE. AFGE is the American Federation of Government Employees. We are the largest, federal sector labor union. We represent about 800,000 federal employees. Everyone from the people who work at NASA to people who work at your local Social Security field office or VA hospital. I'm here to sort of just to answer any questions you have about what AFGE is doing to protect federal employees and more importantly for the broader community, to protect the work that federal employees do. I think I've been to several of these town halls, and I've been very, it's been great to hear that people understand, hey, that when they fire, without cause, when they fire that employee at the EPA, or they fire that employee at the Veterans Affairs Hospital, it affects everyone. It affects the veterans, who go to that hospital for service. It affects the community. It affects, the entire, it affects all Americans. And so, again, thank you for having us. Thank you for the interest in these subjects. And I'm happy to, answer any questions you have about what AFG is doing to try and, protect federal workers and protect the services they provide, all New Yorkers, and all Americans. Oh, and maybe well, I'll say one last thing. Don't judge me. I grew up in New Jersey. And then I'll hand it over to Tim, maybe.
We love Jersey. Love Jersey sometimes. Good evening, everybody. How are you? My name's Tim McLaughlin. I'm a national representative for AFGE, the American Federation of Government Employees, District 2. And the Bronx is one of my areas I'm assigned to. Specifically, the VA hospital over there keeps me busy, and quite a few other spots. The federal government is the sum of its people. 2.3 million patriotic Americans who serve this country with honor and distinction, including more than 500,000 veterans in this country. Over the past 5 weeks, the Trump administration has fired thousands of workers responsible for maintaining our national parks and forests, serving our veterans, and processing America's tax returns, amongst hundreds of other items. They enticed workers to quit with the wasteful and illegal promise that they would get months of pay for doing nothing. They began the illegal and indiscriminate mass firing of probationary employees across the federal agencies. And now, more than likely, they're going to start after the rest of the federal workforce. We must attempt to stop this or slow this down. AFGE has been in the forefront of this war on the federal employees, organizing our members, calling congressional representatives, filing grievances, conducting rallies, and waging this war against the hardworking federal employees on every front, to include lawsuits, which I believe our General Counsel Rashab is intimately involved in, and thank you for that, Rashab. Laying off potentially hundreds of thousands of federal workers will mean fewer services at higher costs for the American taxpayer, longer waits at VA hospitals, fewer inspectors ensuring the safety of our meats and produce, less research into cures for debilitating and deadly diseases, more risk for air travelers, long waits at Social Security enrollment officers and to get passports, and the list will go on and on and on. At some point, if this continues, every American will feel this in a lack of services somewhere. What it will not do is result in any discernible savings for taxpayers. In fact, taxpayers will likely end up paying more as a result of the essential work our government does, as it is sold off to private for-profit contractors. This administration has targeted every single federal worker and does not seem to care how much turmoil they cause for either the employees or the American public. The chaos seems to be the point. This administration has abused the probationary period to conduct a politically driven mass firing spree, targeting employees not because of performance, but because they were hired before Trump took office. These firings are not about performance or poor performance. There is no evidence these employees were anything but dedicated public servants. They're about power. They are about gutting the federal government, silencing workers, and forcing agencies into submission to a radical agenda that prioritizes cronyism over competence. AFGE will not stand idly by as President Trump, Elon Musk, and their lackeys run roughshod over the Constitution, the federal law, and basic human decency. We ask all here today to take some sort of action to support federal workers. You can visit afge.org for a list of events or actions you can take in your area. We are sponsoring a rally tomorrow, bright and early, at the West Haven, Connecticut Veterans Affairs from 9:30 to 12 o'clock. And I encourage all to attend who can. I'll drop the details in the chat. If I can, Nia, can I put a flyer in the chat? Yep. And thank you for the opportunity to participate in this discussion today. I appreciate it.
Great. And Joseph, thank you so much, Tim. Joseph, would you like to go?
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, I want to say thank you very much for inviting New York Metro into this forum. We really do appreciate it. There's a serious threat going on right now with the United States Postal Service and its employees. All crafts are involved. My name is Joseph Martir. I'm the Executive Vice President for New York Metro. We represent over 5,000 employees here across in New York and in the Bronx, including 2 installations across the river, which is the DVD and also the bulk mail center, NJI NDC mail center. The Postal Service is enshrined in the Constitution, created by Congress and supported by the people. This is the national treasure of the United States Postal Service. The Postal Service belongs to the people, not to any one individual or the billionaires. The Postal Service is a democratic right of the people with a universal service mandate that requires delivery to 169 million addresses at least 6 days a week, no matter who we are or where we live. No private company would or could provide such universal service, as private companies will base services on private profit. Any such executive order would amount to an illegal hostile takeover of the United States Postal Service, as the law is clear. The Postal Board of Governors are appointed by the President and confirmed by the Senate. Only the Postal Board of Governors can hire or fire the Postmaster General. The United States Postal Service is purposely set up by Congress to be free of political interference. Furthermore, only Congress can change the structure of the Postal Service. The reported action is an attack on the Postal Service that millions of Americans rely upon. Any undermining of its independence and mission is an assault on the American people, as it will be a death spiraling heading to more and more privatization. Privatization means turning our public postal service to private companies and investors whose goal is to maximize maximum profit, not the well-being and rights of the people. Privatization of the postal service, in whole or in part, will lead to higher prices and reduced services, especially to rural areas. Privatization also will spell the elimination of decent union living wage jobs for workers from all walks of life, including more than 70,000 military veterans. Good jobs build stronger communities. The public should take these threats seriously. In his first term, President Trump, in a 2018 OMB report, proposed outright privatization of the U.S. Postal Service, selling it off to private corporations for private profit. In a December 2024 press conference, he said, there is talks about the Postal Service being taken private. You know that. This is happening right now as we speak. And let me be very clear. This will have a negative impact, not just to the deliveries across America, but also to the medicine that we provide, that we deliver to the elderly. I want to make one more thing clear. We don't deliver Republican mail. We don't deliver Democratic mail. We deliver America's mail. The Postal Service stands with the people to defend the postal workers stand with the people to defend the Postal Service. Our message is the U.S. mail is not for sale. Hands off our public postal service. The post office will celebrate its 250th anniversary in July. Here's to the next 250 postal service. Tell Congress to stand up to this administration and protect the Postal Service. Thank you for allowing me to participate in this forum.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the forum. This is Congressman Adriano Espaillat. I'm glad to see the energy that I'm seeing. Federal workers are obviously a key part of our everyday activities that we confront across the country. Whether you go to the post office or you go to an office that provides services, federal workers are key to our society. And this assault on federal workers, this unprescripted, erroneous, and backhanded assault on them is something that must be answered, and we will answer that. I've been asked to address President Trump this coming Tuesday in Spanish. I'll be responding to his State of the Union address. And at that point, I will bring forward my concerns with the actions led by, of course, Elon Musk and President Trump against federal workers, people that provide services on a daily basis to the American public in a professional, I may add, and responsible way. And so I thank you all for being part of this effort, this Zoom call, this forum, where we're going to hear your concerns. My office will follow up if there are any individual cases of federal workers that need our assistance. Please contact my office and make sure that you speak to Shanna Marks in my Harlem office, as well as to Nia Thomas in my Washington, D.C. office, or to Gisbel Marrero in the Washington Heights office. So you have, I've been personally contacted by some of the federal workers in the district. I've spoken to Glenn Ivey, who's been a strong voice since he represents an area of Maryland that has NASA in it, and a high number of federal workers are being negatively impacted by this action. And we'll be working together and joining forces to protect the men and women that work for the federal agencies. So thank you so much for the work that you do. Thank you so much for the efforts that you put on a daily basis to ensure that we get the services that we deserve as citizens and residents of the United States of America. We value your work, we value your commitment, and we will stand by you. You are not alone. So count on my support and my office's support. If there's any individual cases, please leave a message in the chat and we'll follow it up to make sure that you get the services and the backup from my office that you deserve. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And as he mentioned, I'm putting my email in the chat along with these bells, so everyone has it. Feel free, if there are any individual cases or any questions that aren't answered here tonight, to follow up with us, and we will make sure to get back to you as soon as possible. Perfect. And then I see a couple of people have started putting and their questions in the chat. Feel free, excuse me, not the chat, you can use the Q&A function. The chat is, I believe, disabled, but the Q&A function is available. Please put your questions there, and we will go and we'll answer them as they come in. I've got the first question is, I'm a former federal employee who lost my job because of DOGE. What available help is there being delivered by the local politicians in the Bronx in New York? I guess so. I think that's more of a question for the congressman. So what I can say is, please, we'll follow up with resources. Feel free to send me. I'll shoot you an email individually, or send me an email, and we can follow up with resources.
If you want, I can answer that a little bit. I've been fielding a lot of those sort of questions, over the last few weeks. Sure. The first and foremost, you want to keep yourself healthy. Stay positive. All right. Keep a schedule. Okay. It's not the end of the world. I know it may seem like it right now, but there are a lot of resources out there. First and foremost, you should file for unemployment insurance. Make sure you can pay your bills. That is a process that may take a minute, so you need to get ahead of that. Hopefully some of these lawsuits, ultimately at the end of the day, these issues are going to be fixed in the courts, right? And it is problematic. We are out there fighting for you. We understand it. Some of the bigger issues I see with this are some of these probationary terminations on their termination paperwork says that they were not good workers or didn't meet standards. That's problematic for them moving forward. We understand that, and we're aware of it, and we are addressing it, through the legal matters. But stay healthy. Look for other employment, file for your unemployment insurance. Something else will break for you, at some point. So just know we're out there fighting for you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tim. We have a next question. How can we protect our new hires?
And I can take a shot at that. So, AFGE, just so you know, when we at AFG, when we pursue litigation, most of our litigation is not just for AFG members and bargaining employees.
You're breaking up a little bit.
The scope of the litigation federal employees, and so focusing on right now. Does it help without video?
Yeah, I was just about to say, right. That's perfect.
So one thing we're focusing on recently is we filed a lawsuit on probationary employees, and so probationary employees are often new hires. We actually had a judge late last week say that what OPM did was unlawful, that they basically created a fraud in saying that all these employees were terminated for performance reasons, even though they weren't. And we continue to pursue that lawsuit, but one of the benefits of that lawsuit was we expected a number of people to be fired on Friday who were not as a result of that. So that's just one thing we're doing. I think another thing that's very important, because while we will try to solve these problems in the courts and through legal avenues, it's also important to highlight the stories and the importance of federal employees and our not only AFG but others across the the country are highlighting the stories of how important new employees are, how important probationary employees are, how important people who took this on as their first job are to the federal government and to American citizens. And so those are some of the ways we're trying to protect newer hires, people who are new to the federal government.
Thank you.
If I may follow up on that, contact your congressman. That's what they're there for. Please, if anybody on this call has been terminated, one of your first calls should be to your congressional office. If not, set up a meeting to go in and talk to him. Explain to him what happened to you. Tell him what happened to you. If they don't know, they can't address it. If they don't know, they can't fight it. Right now, we know there are other congressional officers. We're fortunate that we're supported here, but there are other congressional folks out there that do not support us. Maybe focus a little attention on them,
Absolutely. And just to piggyback back off that, I just want to reiterate, please reach out to our office, putting my email in the chat so everyone has access to that. The next question we have, I saw in the news that DOGE is violating collective bargaining agreements, specifically regarding telework. Is there any action being taken on that?
And I can answer that pretty quickly. At least on the AFG front, we're working with, each one of our affiliates. So if you work at SSA, we're working with our SSA affiliate, if you work at HUD, our HUD affiliate, to file grievances over those, any violation of a collective bargaining agreement related to DOGE actions. So there are actions being taken, and we're working through the grievance process to try and get those situations remedied to the best we.
Great. Thank you so much. So the next one, in a couple of weeks, Congressman Espaillat may be asked to vote for a continuing resolution to fund the government. The Republicans will probably need Democrats to pass the resolution. That means Democrats will have leverage for once. Will the congressman condition his vote for a continuing resolution on an end to DOGE's unconstitutional dismantling of the federal bureaucracy? This is a question that we can't answer without his presence, but I will make sure Joe to follow up with you about strategy as far as the leverage that we might have going as we take up continuing resolution soon. I have a next question. I'm a probationer who was recently fired. Since they have manufactured costs to let us go, it's been difficult for many of my fellow former employees to file for unemployment. Are there any suggestions for how to file their claims and get around the problems of falsely not meeting workplace standards?
So I'll take a quick shot at that again. So I think, one thing is to make sure you note when you file that, there weren't performance reasons. I think to the extent you can add information that there was, again, we filed a lawsuit, and in California, there's a judge who basically said that he believes that the government actually fraudulently set performance reasons for most of these probationary employees. So our hope is that unemployment offices will now see that and take that into consideration before denying claims, so that you don't have to go through the whole appeal process.
Thank you. Next question. Have unions organized old chat boards or other effective ways for folks to communicate now that the normal ways for us to communicate Office 365 projects at work are closed?
I'm not sure. I know what the old chat boards were, but we do have many ways we're communicating with our members and with our affiliates, including through personal email, through town halls, through Signal, other means like that. So I think we have a good way of communicating with our members and other unions, and I think we continue to look at additional ways to get better outreach to them.
if I could, I'll just follow up on that there. Check the websites, afge.org. Also, there's a new group out there called FUN. It's the Federal Unions Network. Check their site. It puts on there also the AFL-CIO, your labor councils. They get all the information regarding rallies and actions that we're taking out there. As I said earlier, I don't know if the flyer went into the chat, but we are having a rally tomorrow at West Haven, Connecticut, from 9:30 to 12 o'clock. There'll be quite a few more coming up as the weeks and months go by. I'm sure there will be quite a few in Federal Plaza. And to get that information, contact your local union if you're in your union. If you're not in a union, you can go to the New York City AFL-CIO website, the Central Labor Council there, or you can check the Federal Unionist Network.org.
Naya, if you would allow me.
Sure, please, go ahead.
I just hearing Timothy speaking about rallies. I just want to point out also that the American Postal Workers Union is currently organizing a day of action, and our day of action will be March 20th. And you could be sure that New York Metro will be participating in that day of action. At this current time and moment, we're working on the organization part of it. Most likely it'll be in front of the Jaff building on 31st Street, right in front of the main post office in New York City. But once I receive that information and or flyer, I would love to send it to the office of our Honorable Espaillat's office so it can be spread across the communities.
Perfect.
Thank you
so much. Thank you. I was a probationary employee who was fired on the 20th of February. Where does the legal case stand?
I'll take that. Again, I mentioned we have a lawsuit. It's titled AFG versus OPM that was filed in California, and we received a positive decision last week in which a judge said that OPM unlawfully directed the termination of probationary employees throughout the country. The judge limited his order, however, to essentially telling OPM they were wrong and having OPM undo what they did and ask the agencies to undo it. He didn't order the agencies to reinstate probationary employees as of yet. However, we are likely going to seek additional relief in the coming weeks, the coming week and potentially weeks. We have additional hearings in that matter on March 13th. Keep a lookout in the news for additional developments in that case. It's been widely reported, so you'll sure to hear something.
Next question. Can we dispel the idea that federal employees need to experience layoff? Because the point of having long-term federal government employment is to perpetuate the strength and stability of services for the American public.
I think that's well said. I think you've just, that's, and we, our, not only FG, but several of our partners and several other groups have been continually trying to highlight this in the media through Congress. We've had several supportive representatives, including, your congressman, try and push this issue, and we're hopeful it will succeed.
As a Social Security employee, very concerned about these changes regarding consolidating the regions and potentially cutting frontline employees. There seems to be 45 offices closing imminently. Any action on those offices that are closing? I saw in New York, White Plains, Horsehead, and Poughkeepsie.
Well, if you're a Social Security worker, more than likely you are represented by a local union. My answer to you would be to contact your local union. They have that information. If you have, and if they don't, then you need to give them that information if you have that information so that they're aware of it. And like I said, we're going to fight the best we can. Our locals will, the national union will, more than just our union, multiple unions out there are now getting together to coordinate efforts and stuff. If you're concerned, Tell your story. Write an op-ed in the paper. All right. Contact your congressman. Tell your relatives. All right. Express yourself. Don't hold it in. Now is not the time to be quiet.
Absolutely. Next question. How can my boss defend me if they are made Schedule F? How can we help federal employees outside of the BUE?
So I'm not sure if the question is how we can help federal employees outside the BUE. So yes, we are actually we actually have a loss. So Schedule F, we're trying to prevent Schedule F from getting implemented. It's legally it's difficult, but we do have AFG has a lawsuit, and there are several other organizations that have lawsuits right now that are going through the court system to try and prevent the new Schedule F from being implemented. And if it does, and it does get implemented, we will, look at challenges to any individual decisions, because we do expect, the administration to go overboard and try and designate people as outside of a bargaining unit or as Schedule F, even if they don't qualify under their own definition. And so, we'll continue to try and challenge that. And, we, like I said earlier, we're not in this to just help our members in our bargaining unit. We're in this to help all federal employees.
Great. Thank you. Next question. My question is about Schedule F policy positions. Can you provide your thoughts on how long it will take the administration to effectuate the change and what steps AFGE will do to stop it?
So I think I already said we have a couple, we have a lawsuit in play, and there's a couple others. It's unclear how long it'll take. I think I have to go back, but I think it's something like late March or April is when the agencies have to provide OPM the lists of who they believe should be in Schedule F. And then we think there'll be an additional process. So I do still think that we won't see people actually converted for a few more months. And in the meantime, we will do what we can to try and prevent it from occurring.
Absolutely. Next question. Is there anything that can be done about the harassment and stress being felt by employees by these pointed attacks from the administration? The emails and constant attacks in the media and online are out of control.
Well, people got a right to free speech. People are going to say silly things sometimes. You just got to chalk it up with a grain of salt. Know that you're in the right. Know that you're working for the American public and that you're doing good things. I know there's been a steady drumbeat of attacks on federal workers. Everything from emails that you're getting now saying, why don't you go get a good productive job, insinuating that your job is not productive now. All right. Don't buy into that. Don't start circling that drain. All right. Know that's, excuse my language, bullshit. All right. Hopefully, I'm sorry if I offend anybody, but don't buy into that. Keep your head up. This will pass. This will pass, and better days will come. It's going to be some time, that's for sure. But don't buy into the negativity. Stay positive.
Thank you so much. Next question. Is the new "What Did You Do Last Week" part 2 a phishing attempt to identify my IP address to enforce RTO? If my supervisor requires it, how can I anonymize my response?
I'll quickly say we're not sure exactly what they'll do with that. There's really no way to anonymize a response, but we've put out guidance that you can, look at on our website, afge.org. And essentially what we've said is that if you receive the email from your agency and they tell you to respond, you should. If you receive the email from OPM, you should ask your supervisor whether or not you can, whether or not you should respond, and only comply and respond if your supervisor or someone else in your agency chain of command requires you to.
Great. Next question, I think we touched on a little bit at the very beginning. Are AFGE or NTEU coordinating any events in New York City in the coming days?
Not in the coming days that I'm aware of, but in the coming weeks, you will hear about it. As I said earlier, go to the Central Labor Council touch base with your local. Those are, or the Federal Unionist Network is another place where that information is being put out pretty regularly. I would imagine within the next 2 to 3 weeks, there will be an action taken at Federal Plaza, downtown on Broadway there. That's one of the spots where we can congregate there. About 2 weeks ago, we had a nice rally. About 150 people showed up. So keep your ear to the ground. You'll get the information when it's going to happen, for sure. And it's going to be a long summer, so keep your powder dry. All right, this is only the beginning of it. Let's just face facts, right? These are opening salvos. So try not to freak out every time somebody says something stupid or does something stupid. Don't react. I'm starting to think that half of these actions are being taken for the reaction. They like to see certain people, get triggered, as they say, and they kind of, get all happy about that. So try not to react so much. Don't shoot from the hip. Don't let them see you sweat. When you hear something stupid, no, it's just that. It's just stupid. They're trying to get a reaction out of you. So try not to react to those sort of things and entertain people. That's what I got to say about that.
Thank you so much for that. The next question is, what is New York City, New York State doing anything to support local federal workers, including making a priority of a class to hire, et cetera? I can just briefly touch base. I know the governor, Governor Hochul, has started a campaign to make sure that federal workers who have been fired are making sure that they know that they're welcome in New York. And so they've started a campaign. You can visit ny.gov/we-want-you to find out more. I know that they're making a concerted effort to hire federal employees there. Great. Apologies, just looking for other questions. Next question, is there any way people can specifically support lawsuits?
So this is Rashab again. I will say that, at this point, AFGE is not asking for support directly from the public. But when we do need support, we will ask for it. There are some other really good groups that are helping us. Public Citizen, Democracy Forward. These are just a couple I'm naming. Protect Democracy. And those are 501c3 organizations that do take donations. So you can always either donate or volunteer to those organizations to assist with the legal battles.
Next question, is there a plan if the administration does not follow court orders?
Yes. I mean, so it depends, on what type of order, but there are ways to get courts to issue contempt orders or sanctions if a party doesn't comply with an order. And we will challenge their non-compliance to the Supreme Court. And if they continue not to comply, we will protest, we will rally, we will make sure that our Congress people do what they need to do to hold the administration accountable.
Okay, great. Next question, what are our rights during the RIF process? Specifically, if you are bumped, retreat out of your position. Can you file an appeal, and how? Or if it's done, is it final and you can't appeal?
So I'll say that the rights that are provided for employees who are RIFed, they're complicated. It's going to depend on a lot of different scenarios. You generally can appeal a RIF notice. If you're in a collective bargaining, if you're in a union that has a collective bargaining agreement that allows for the appealing of RIFs, you can do that. If not, then you can also appeal it to the MSPB. But what I'm going to do is I've been responding to a lot of the questions with 3 different websites with a lot of resources. I'll put that in the chat so everyone can see, but there's 3 really good websites. One is ours called AFGE, AFG Strong, and it has a lot of information that's open to the public about RIFs, probationary employees, and other topics. But then there's 2 others. One is a website called Dear Civil Servant, that has updates on what's going on with litigation and other resources. And there's a third one called Civil Service Strong. These are all organizations that we partner with. We actually provide some of the information on those websites to those organizations, and they help us with both our lawsuits and other things. So I'll put that in the chat. And those are 3 good resources to look for on these issues. They do have information on RIF.
Looking for.
I'm just going to chime in. I see somebody in the chat here is telling me something I didn't know, is that there will be an informational picket at 12 p.m. at Fed Plaza this on the 5th. So if you want to get involved, that is a good opportunity. Get out there and make some noise and have our voices heard. Just check on with that the Federal Union Network website and NTEU 335 as well. And the Labor Council will have information. Confirm that, because I haven't confirmed that, but I'm seeing that in the chat and it sounds about right. I heard something about that. So that would be this Wednesday at 12 p.m. Fed Plaza. But confirm that information if you want to get involved.
Right. There are a couple of RIF questions, but I think that we're pretty adequately consolidated in Shab's answer. Just want to make sure that I'm not missing any of them.
Naya, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you very much. I just want to reiterate at this current time and moment, for the Postal Service to, right now, many of the employees have been offered an early out, which is beautiful. However, in this climate that we're going through right now, before you can apply for an early out, you must apply it through OPM, and you have to give a reason on why you're applying for this early retirement. And it's come to our attention as a union that the reason that Postmaster General DeJoy gave was that he has too much staffing. At what point is this going to stop? During his tenure, he has reduced close to over 5 million man hours already. At some point, you blame labor, you reduce the labor, but now we're back here again. And I believe that the purpose of what's going on in this administration is the ultimate goal is to stop the Postal Service from providing services like deliver vote by mail, delivering our elderly population their much needed medicine. But let's take in also the small business owners' ability to compete with larger corporations. My hope is that one united rally for all workers, we encourage all members to support any organized rally in support of workers, because an injury to one is an injury to all. Thank you for allowing me this moment.
Yeah, brother. Yeah.
We got a next question from Jennifer Ramirez. As an AFGE union officer with the recent actions by the current administration when it comes to English only, how will the congressman ensure that his constituents that visit a Social Security Administration office be able to conduct business with Social Security for those who don't speak English? Thank you so much for this question. So I know that we have in the past worked with constituents who are having issues with federal offices, whether it be Social Security, IRS, the postal office. If you're having an issue with translating, feel free to reach out to our office. I'll respond to this email, this comment with our office number and our caseworker, and we'll be able to help you. So just reach out to our office. Um, any guidance on the VSIP offered to Social Security Administration? The fine print indicates that it isn't guaranteed. What happens if you accept it and the funds run out? Can you withdraw the VSIP application?
That's a good question, and I actually don't know the answer to it, but that is a very good question that I think I will have someone get an answer to the congressman tomorrow morning. And I don't know if that question came from someone who can send the hosts their email address, then we can make sure you get the answer.
I'm just responding to let them know that they can send me the question via email and we will get them that answer as soon as possible. What is Congress doing to help federal employees? What's going to happen when the CR ends? So, as far as what we are hearing from leadership, there's been talk about extending the continuing resolution. There has been talk for extending that for I believe President Trump has supported an extension until September. There's been talk of an extension for a couple of weeks. We know that with continuing resolutions aren't good for anybody. And so we are wanting to make sure that Republicans know that they need to pass a full funding bill. And as far as what Congress is doing to help federal employees, should there be a shutdown, in the past when we have made sure that federal employees have access to resources. We'll have a landing page on our website of what employees can do in the case of a government shutdown. And if you are having specific issues that you would like our assistance with, always feel free to contact our office. There was a question about, I believe, the AFGE versus OPM lawsuit. That lawsuit was non-precedent. What did it mean? What did that mean? And how will that impact the case for the whole week for those who are already fired? Oh.
I see my general counsel ducked out.
Oop. And we can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Yes, I see my general counsel has left the room. So I'm not an attorney, all right? That's first and foremost, but I'll attempt to address the question there a little bit there. From what I know and from what I've understand, there's been a lot going on, so it's hard to keep up at times. But from what I understand with this lawsuit, I still have questions about it myself. The judge did find that it was illegal, what the agencies are doing, terminating probationary employees. One of the things I did not like, I'm not quite sure about the non-precedent part about it, but one thing that I didn't like is that he didn't restore the people back to their employment. I think that it's a little outside of his lane. He didn't have the legal authority to do so, which I'm still unsure about, how that kind of works. But that lawsuit, as Rushab had said earlier, is setting a good cornerstone for future issues and how it's already more than likely impacted thousands of people by them not firing people anymore using that sort of system. The people who were terminated on probation, sit tight. You haven't heard the last of it. It's not done yet. Be patient. These things take time, but you can't hang your hat on it forever. All right. At some point, you're going to have to go out and start looking for some other work. Now, it wouldn't surprise me in a year from now, possibly the courts order all these people returned. It could happen. It's not impossible. And hang in there. I don't have the question or the answer to the question regarding the precedence portion of that question. I'm unsure of that. I would have to lean on my general counsel for that, for sure.
Perfect. Feel free to shoot me an email. I will make sure that we get you an answer. Since Trump is defunding the NLRB, where do workers go now to file their work-related complaints?
Well, first place you got to stop in is your local union, right? You still have Office of Special Counsel. You still got, investigative general's offices. You still have systems in place internally within these agencies accepting complaints. And ultimately, at the end of the day, go to your congressman.
Absolutely. And there was a question for those who whose unions are not taking a firm stance about this. How can they support? How can they receive resources themselves? How can they support AFG's role and New York Metro's role in fighting these actions?
As I've said a few times, get out to these events, write your letters to your congressman, write your op-eds, go to afg.org. There's plenty to do, and at least but not last, help your local. if your local is not to the point where you're happy with it, get involved, right? Don't complain. Get involved. Make the change. Be the change.
If I may, just to harp on Timothy's point, people get the misconception that representatives is the union. We are all the union, every single one of us, and we all must participate. It's not just lean on one person to take your grievances. Right now, at this current time and moment, if there's a rally, come there. Bring your children, bring your sister, bring your neighbor, bring someone with you, but make sure that we are loud and proud of what we do. And one thing my mom always told me, the squeaky wheel gets the most grease.
I've said that a few times these last few weeks, brother. Believe that. That's a fact.
A couple of these are repeats from about RIFs.
So one question, can the agency do a RIF if they have sufficient funding for current staffing levels? Yes, they can. For the efficiency of the government, the agency can conduct a RIF anytime they feel necessary, regardless of their funding levels.
Next question. There was a rumor that Trump will issue an executive order to fire the BOG and put the post office under the Commerce Department. Is there an update to that?
At this current time and moment, as a union, we have no update on that. However, I can assure you that our national leaders are making sure that they'll be disseminating that information. And as I articulated earlier, it is imperative that everyone, as we are scheduled to have a day of action, March 20th, in front of the James A. Farley building, time to be determined at this current time and moment. But at this current time, I have no information. But once I receive the information, I will relay it to Representative Espaillat's office. Thank you,
Joseph. We have a next question. What about cuts to Medicare, Social Security, and Medicaid? What I can say, so last week, the Republicans passed a budget blueprint that would pave the way for massive cuts to things like Medicare, Social Security, Medicaid, food stamps, a lot of these safety net programs that people, a lot of our constituents, a lot of Americans rely on. The congressman voted against that, and in his capacity as a appropriations ranking member and general member, we will make sure to be fighting against these cuts because we know how horrific any of these cuts would be to our constituency. Next question, do y'all have suggested documents proof that we should provide when the Department of Labor questions our eligibility for unemployment because of the performance wording in our layoff letters, or can we work with someone at DOL to come up with something and let us know?
I saw that question there. Bring in a newspaper, to the Department of Labor there. It's been said a million times that you're all being fired, not for cause, regardless of what the paper says. I understand your situation for sure. See your union rep. I haven't heard of anybody coming back from the unemployment being denied because of that.
Okay.
So if you are, again, reach out to your local union rep or your congressman for assistance. They will take care of it for you. There's no doubt.
Yep, that was going to be my plug. Please feel free to email me. We also have our tech. Dom has put in the numbers for our both our Washington Heights and Harlem office, as well as our DC office. Feel free to call those numbers. Email me directly. Happy to work through that with you. Grassroots groups are ready to support efforts to raise awareness and protest. Will Congressman Espaillat notify his constituents of upcoming rallies, protests, and actions? Yes, so please keep, we have our newsletter. Please follow us on social media. That is where we are keeping our constituency up to date on what we are doing around these ongoing issues, whether it be specifically for the federal workforce or for federal funding. Any action we are taking against the Trump administration, we will be communicating that with our constituency. And so anytime you have any questions about what we're doing, feel free to give us a call. We can keep you all updated. Next question, do we have agency leadership at any agency admitting they are following OPM directives? I know that in the courts, they are going to try to act like OPM didn't issue any directives beyond its authority. So it's important to force any actions up the chain that will lead to management admitting or providing information supporting these actions are being directed by OPM. Have you all seen any specific agency leadership?
I've seen some leadership not happy what's coming their way. That's for sure. An example of that would have been the tell me what you did last week email, right? Where I understand some got some this weekend as well. Last Sunday I had to work. I worked most of the day because the phone calls were coming in. People were upset. People didn't know what to do. And ultimately, you have to do what your supervisor tells you. All right. So if your supervisor didn't tell you to answer that email, you don't answer that email. But there were certain agencies that just came right out and gave a blanket waiver to everybody. The Department of Defense being one of them, Health and Human Services being another. There was quite a few agencies that said our people will not answer that email. So follow what you're being told to do. If you are being told to answer that email, let your local union guy know. All right. Like the VA, I know they were told to answer that email. And there's some draft language and there's stuff on the websites you can go to get just a basic Pollyannic answer to those questions if you need. But I would be very cautious with that. But you ultimately, at the end of the day, you're going to do what you're told to do. So just make sure that you answer that email on duty time. All right. And if it takes you time to put it together, it takes you time to put it together. You know?
The next question, Social Security employees received a vague email offering voluntary reassignment to mission critical positions with no details. Employees are highly suspicious of this offer and how we could be adversely affected. Do you know anything? Have you heard anything about this?
I saw that. I saw that directive put out by Social Security, and I read it very, very closely. The Vera Vesip retirement is a solid, legitimate program. Let me just throw that out there as well. If you and it's a good deal, okay? You could retire at 55 if you got the time. No penalized. You don't get the 1-2% a year. Those are official government programs that have been tried and true for the last 50 plus years. Send me an email that you resign is not. So I would be very cautious and hesitant about advising you to do that. But the Vera Vesip programs are legitimate government programs. If you are in the area, or if you qualify for that and you are interested in moving on, I advise you to do that. Right? You can retire early, quite a few years, with no penalization of your pension or any other benefits that you may get there. So it's not a bad thing. As far as reassignments and stuff, I wouldn't advise jumping right onto that until you know a little more information. That's my personal advice to you. I would advise you to reach out to your local union rep. I seen one of my good friends on the call here today, Jennifer Ramirez. She's the union rep at Social Security, local 3369. So her and Edwin, President Osario over there, do good work. I'm sure they'll have some guidance or some advice for you regarding any of those sort of endeavors. Mm-hmm. So reach out to your local union rep, please.
Perfect. Next question, what protection do we have as non-bargaining employees that can't rehire, but may be in that can't retire, but may be in a position that is not mission critical?
Well, you have standard rights under the statute. You have due process rights. Even though you don't have a union, there are still statutorial functions that you are privy and entitled to. So they can't just fire you. You're still privy to a 30-day advance notice for terminations and the right to appeal, or the right to reply before they make that decision, put your case on. And then you still have the right to go to the Merit Systems Protection Board, for a 14-day suspension or more, which a termination would fit into, and put your case on why it was unjust, right? If you're terminated, if you're riffed, there's a lot going on. Again, go to your local union rep. They will more than likely have those answers for you.
Yep. The next question, much of the federal research apparatus for not only federal employees, but also university employees depends on the reliable flow of federal grants. Most young career scientists, scientific support staff are totally dependent on this so-called soft money that is being disrupted. Will congressional appropriations be spent as Congress intended on federal research?
It's unknown. I see the VA, rescinded some grants, and we got a lot of complaints. There was a lot of people not happy about that, and some of them have been reinstituted. And it's funny you mentioned that myself and Mr. Mart here was speaking before the call here today, that some of the people, a lot of the people being impacted, up till now are younger people on probation, young mothers, young fathers, and I can't tell you how many calls I've gotten this week, questions of how am I going to support my family now? How am I going to get health insurance? it's heartbreaking and despicable what is occurring here. We feel you, we hear you, and we are fighting the best we can. But we must also understand that elections have consequences. And right now, a certain party is running three branches of the government. So it's tough. Just what I can say about that. Just remember in November. My friend Maxwell.
Next question. Is the congressman interested in hearing about current working conditions at our agency? For example, the return to work at the Department of Education has created huge lines to get in the building to get through security. And the headquarters building is a zoo and is incredibly hard to get work done because it's so noisy. Yes, please, if you have any comments, concerns, questions, please send those over to our office. We are happy to talk through those issues with you. And we are always interested in hearing the real life effects of these directives. Next question. Who is protecting the well-being of TSA? Our employees need full protection as well as support from our congressional and Senate leaders, especially now because of the current administration. TSA lives matter and their family lives matter. How will our political leaders fully protect our TSA employees, certainly from the threats of privatizing our agency? And how will our official time representatives be protected?
Well, again, your local union, communicating with the community through op-eds and getting your message out. Right now the the initiative is from a certain party, getting the word out that federal employees are no good. We have to counter those messages with our own messages, true messages, not the bullshit that's being put out there. Excuse my language once more. And Local 2222 is a strong local and is more than competent enough to do that. If you need any assistance, let me know. Also, I seen a few questions in here today regarding official time. Those attacks haven't happened yet. So there's been some differences between the first administration, and this administration. The last time they got the reins here, their first step out the door was to come after the unions, right? And they spent the next 3 years fighting that, and we did fairly well. We didn't win everything, but we held our own, and it was we were losing over 1,500 members a month back then. For 2 years straight, almost 70,000 members. AFGE lost. So this time it seems like they're sidestepping us, going directly at the employees for the initial salvo, and that's what's happening. That other foot, I believe, will drop probably in the near future, where they will restrict our official time. Chabé, as you said there, Local 2222, your official time is enshrined in your contract, your new contract. They have to go through that contract first. So what they did last time was they took the official time away, abrogating contracts and violating contracts all the time. After a couple of cases, most of that time was put back. The locals were compensated for any annual leave or sick leave that employees took to do representations. Locals were also compensated for office space, any funds that they had spent on that. Those lawsuits were very successful. And at the end of the day, the government had to pay millions of dollars back to the unions for what they did to us. Now, I don't know if there was lessons learned there or not. I'm hoping there was. But from my perspective, they're just not going to be able to help themselves but to do the same thing all over again. They're going to come after our union officials. They're going to take their official time away. They're going to throw us out of the facilities. Expect all that stuff to come. So prepare now, so it is no surprise. It more than likely will happen. Your locals or the councils or the national office will have to file those grievances, go through those cases all over again. What I'm seeing is they just don't care. All right. They don't care about the law. They don't care about the contracts. They're going to do what they're going to do. And then it's up to us to hold them accountable. We have to do the work. Do not shy away from the work. It is needed. And it won't not get fixed without it. All right. And each one of these issues I speak of is a lot of work. I understand that, but now's the time we have to dig in and make it happen. So file those grievances, make sure you're a national rep and your councils are informed of what is happening out there. So don't be surprised when it comes. It is coming. I believe that, when, I couldn't tell you. I've gotten some communications lately where the agencies are starting to reach out to locals, requesting how much time they've used and putting data together. So I'm imagining it's not probably too far down the road.
Perfect. So I think one of our last questions was a general question about our office hours for Congressman Espaillat's office. We are open from on Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Feel free to come in. Again, our numbers are in the chat. We'll put them on one more time along with my email, so everyone has that information. But thank you all so much for participating. Thank you for the folks who took time out of their day to attend this and answer or ask your questions. If your question was not answered here, or if you have any other questions, feel free to email me directly. And happy to get happy to get that information directly to you. Timothy and Joseph, thank you so much for all your work and fighting for the rights and job security of federal workers. We really appreciate the work that y'all are doing on the ground. And thank you all for federal workers who have committed their time and livelihood to making our government a better place. But that is it from me. That's it from the questions. Joseph, Timothy, any last minute comments, concerns?
Well, let me make a statement because I want to give Timothy enough time, because it's like the poor gentleman has been bombarded with questions. But nevertheless, I just want to let you know that New York Metro will be here, and the fight. This is just the beginning. We got a long road ahead of us, and we all must galvanize together in unity. I believe there was a question there of a non-union employee, whether because of the status, like I articulated to our sisters and brothers that are supervisors and postmasters that are not part of the craft, even though they have their national alliance or whatever it may be, an attack on what's going on right now with the Postal Service. We're being all attacked. Every single one of us, no matter how high you go up in this in your endeavor or in your job force, whether you're a craft employee, whether you're a supervisor, whether you're a manager. In this particular, we must work together as one front to stop the assault.
Just to piggyback off of that, he's absolutely correct. Solidarity is going to be the key here. Stick it together. With our congressional representatives, applying that pressure to some of these Republican representatives. All right. Very critical piece of all of that. And thank you guys for your time here today as well.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.